Hey guys, welcome to day one of our new unit over producing data. So up to this point, we have done different things with probability. We've talked about random variables, and then we just finished up our normal distribution unit. And so now we are switching gears a little bit, and we are talking about what do we do as statisticians to collect data? What are the proper methods and procedures for that? So that way we can analyze our data and then plug those into our other probability functions and stuff that we've had up to this point. So today's notes or today's activity is based on a concept of how do we determine authorship if we don't actually know who the author is of something. So what piqued my interest in this is hopefully most of us are familiar with J.K. Rowling, who wrote, the Harry Potter series. After she wrote Harry Potter, she was super famous, but she wanted to continue writing, but she didn't want to have the stigma of, oh, well, I'm only a teen fiction author. So when people see J.K. Rowling as the author on a book, they might not buy it because it's only teen fiction, or she's only been known for teen fiction. So if you go to Canvas, I have a really cool article called How Did Computers Determine That J.K. Rowling blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's the very first link in the new unit, in the new module for this unit. Okay, it's a really cool read. But basically, she wrote a book and she used a pseudonym because she didn't want everybody to know that she was the one who wrote this new adult fiction novel. But as people were reading it, they decided that, oh, this seems a lot like the same kind of writing that J.K. Rowling had. Like the style of the writing was very similar to J.K. Rowling's in her Harry Potter series. So what they did was they looked at the average word length of all of the words that she used, and it's been discovered in the past. Back, I think they first discovered it with the Federalist Papers. Whenever, if you want to go ask Mr. Patty or some of the other history teachers that we've got on campus, ask them how they determine the authorship of the Federalist Papers. It's going to be very similar. But basically, people who write similarly tend to use the same word length over time. Like, on the whole, you and how you write, the average word length of your papers will always be pretty similar, as opposed to somebody else in your class. Their word length might be, their average might be the same, but most likely it's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be pretty consistent. So just like with the Federalist Papers, somebody looked at the average word length of the books by the pseudonym for J.K. Rowling, and then they looked at the word length of the actual J.K. Rowling books like Harry Potter, and they were so similar that they were like, this gives us enough evidence that we believe that this new author, I believe she called herself Robert Galbraith, is actually J.K. Rowling. And turns out, sure enough, J.K. Rowling had to come out a little bit later and be like, okay, yep, you guys caught me, that's me. I just wanted to have a pseudonym so that way everybody didn't know who I was. So anyway, that's the whole premise behind our activity for today. You can take that for whatever you want, but I always thought that was kind of cool. Plus, I'm also a huge Harry Potter / J.K. Rowling fan. So, but yeah, check out that article in Canvas. So then how does it relate to Beyonce? Well, question, do we know that she writes her own songs? I mean, we know that she wrote a lot of songs for Destiny's Child, but whenever the song Crazy in Love came out, people were not really sure if she actually wrote this song, and I kind of questioned it a little bit. So what you have been given today is a worksheet, the lesson 4.1 part 1, does Beyonce write her own songs? And then you should also be given a list of the lyrics for that song. Okay, so what you're going to do first is you're going to quickly circle a random sample of 5 words and write those words below. How many letters are in each word? So you should have the lyrics, okay? Here's the lyrics for Crazy in Love. And you're just going to pick any 5 words at random. Just you pick 5 words. It doesn't matter which words, just pick 5 of them, okay? You're going to pick your 5 words, and then you're going to write them here, and then you're going to put how many letters are in each word. Then in step 2, you're going to find the average word length of your sample, of just your sample. Now, is your sample going to be the same as your neighbor's? Hopefully not. I'm hoping that it's different, okay? So each of you are going to have a slightly different sample. But after you do that, you are going to put your average on the dot plot on the whiteboard at the front of the room. So I've given the substitute a pre-made dot plot for this activity. So I want you to put that on the board, okay? And you're going to compare, everyone's going to put their averages up there. And then what I would recommend off to the side is if you guys could write out what the average word length is for each person, so that way as a whole, we can come up with what is the average word length for the entire class. But we can't do that unless we all share this information. So what I want you to do as you're putting your dot on your board, on the dot plot, I want you to write on the dry erase board off to the side your average word length. And then I want at least one of you or somebody in the class to collect all those together and find the overall average word length. Okay? So you're going to have this dot plot. And this dot plot is unique because, well, actually what we do, I'm giving you guys kind of a rundown of how this activity is going to work. You're going to want to pause this video, so pause, do that activity, and then come back. So you're on your own here to pause this as you need to, but you're going to I'm going to walk yourself through this activity. Okay, so let's say you've already done the average, you picked out all of your letters, or you picked out your words, you found your average, and then as a class we've come up with an average. Okay, I can't give you a sample on here because I have no idea what your average is going to be. No clue. I can't determine that. I can't see the future. But let's talk about what each individual dot on that dot plot represents. So we've got, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've all got, dots just randomly scattered about here. Hopefully it looks pretty varied, but this whole thing is a dot plot, but this one is kind of unique because it is called a sampling distribution, because each one of you took a sample of 5 words, you found the average of your 5 words, and then the dots on this dot plot, each individual dot represents your specific sample. Okay, so then since each one of these dots represents a sample, this is a distribution of a bunch of samples, hence the name sampling distribution. It's not super important that you know that, but that word's going to come back up again a little bit later on. So just know that we've got this sampling distribution. Okay, so we've already done step 3. Now in step 4, we want to, oops, that scrolled down a little more than I wanted to. In step 4, I want to find a new sample of 5 words using a random number generator. Okay, there are several ways to do this. Random number generator, so how many words are there? If we look at our list, so on the back of the lyrics that I gave you, or that the sub gave you, all of the words are written out in order, and we have a total of 297 words in this one song. Okay, so what we could do to randomize this, I want you to think about all the different ways. I could write all of these words on a piece of paper, which I do have them on a piece of paper, and I could cut this up into 297 pieces, and then I could randomly draw out 5 different words. Okay, I could do that if I want to, but that takes a little bit of time. That's a little bit tedious. Another method that I could do is if I had 297 popsicle sticks that were numbered, each one of those popsicle sticks represents a word. I draw out 5 popsicle sticks, and those are the words that I go with for my sample. Again, not ideal because I'd have to have 297 popsicle sticks. I don't know about you, but I don't have that floating around. So another method we could use is using technology. So I want you to grab your calculator. Okay, and I want you to do the standard 2nd plus 712. So we're going to go ahead and clear it. 2nd plus 712. Everyone's going to clear their calculator. So we're all back to our home screen. It says RAM cleared. Mine already went away, but it should have said RAM cleared. Okay, and then we are going to generate 5 unique numbers out of this set of 297. So we're going to go to Math, arrow over to Probability. Okay, and we want 5 unique numbers, so we're going to go down to number 8 here. This represents random integer, no repeats, because I want 5 unique numbers, so I don't want any of them to be the same. So I'm going to click this one. The lowest number that I had was a 1. The highest numbered word was 297. And this N represents how many words that I want. I want 5 words. I'm going to click paste. Okay. Now, these are the 5 numbers that I came up with on my calculator. I want you to compare what numbers you got to the numbers that your neighbor got. Does anybody notice anything unique in this situation? If we all cleared our calculators correctly all of us should be getting the exact same 5 numbers, which, what was the point of this whole thing? We were trying to get 5 random numbers, okay? By having 5 random numbers, but all of us have the same 5 random numbers, is that really, truly random? No. The reason behind that is because your calculator has been programmed the same way as every other person's calculator, okay? So before we do any kind of a random number generator, we have to do what we call seeding the calculator. Seeding as in like planting a seed, okay? In order to do that, you're going to have to seed it with a number different than your neighbor's number. So to do this, I always like to go with my birthday. My birthday is July 23rd, so 7/23. Okay, I'm going to type that in, and I'm going to click the store button right here. So it gives me a little arrow, and then I'm going to go back to math, arrow over to probability, but then I'm going to just click this first option right here, option number 1. Okay. So 7/23 store rand. You are going to want to seed your calculator with a different number than I did. Because if you seed your calculator with the same number that I did, and we do the random integer no repeat, we're going to get the same 5 numbers again. Okay? So the whole point of this is that as a class, we want everybody to have a unique set of 5 numbers. Okay? And so we kind of have to trick our calculator into giving us different numbers by seeding it. So make sure that you're seeding it with a different number than the people around you. Now, it is still possible to get the same 5 numbers. It's just not very likely, especially with a set as large as 297. So I'm going to go ahead and I have 723 store RAND, and I'm going to go ahead and click enter, and it should just pop up 723. Okay, so that is the number that I use to seed my calculator. So now I'm going to draw those 5 numbers yet again. So I'm going to go to math, probability. Again, random integer, no repeat. Luckily, since I'm repeating the same thing I did before, all of the numbers are already there for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click paste, and I should get 5 new numbers. So 13, 243, 278, 76, and 142. These are the numbers that I got when I did my random number generator. You are going to get different numbers. I want you to get different numbers because I want us to have a more varied set of data. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my list of all of the words, and I'm going to match up the words. The first one I believe I had was 13. So I'm going to use word number 13, and then I'm going to find all 5 of them, and I'm going to repeat the same process that I did before, where I'm going to go ahead and find the number of letters in each word, and then find the average word length for myself. Okay? And then when you're done, you are going to repeat the same thing that we did on number 3, where you're going to put your new average on a dot plot. Okay, I don't want us to mix our numbers up though with the dot plot we had before. So you'll notice that there are 2 different lines on the dot plot. Well, there may only be one along the bottom. What I want you to do is to draw a line up above the old dot plot, because the 1 through 5 numbers on the bottom are perfectly fine. They're the same. Okay, I want you to have a new dot plot just up above the old dot plot. Okay, but again, once you're putting your dot on the board for your specific average, I need you to write down what your average was on the dry erase board, so as a class we can collect this data and then we can find an overall average for our new dot plot. So we're going to have 2 averages total, one for the first dot plot that we did earlier, and then another one for the second dot plot that we're doing right now. Okay, so again, pause the video, get that done, and then come back. Okay? So then how is the dot plot from number 4 different than the dot plot for number 3? What do you guys think? What should happen is that the dot plot in number 4 should have far less variability. The numbers, like the dots themselves, should be clustered together a little bit more than in number 3. Now, it is possible that that doesn't happen. Okay, but it's not very likely. So hopefully it works out this way, that the dot plot in the second group should be more clustered together than the dot plot in the first group, okay? Which do you think is a better estimator of the true mean word length? Knowing what the dot plots look like, which one do you think is a better estimator? I would say probably number 4, okay? Overall, the means from number 4, okay, is probably closer to the true one because the words that we used in our second dot plot for number 4 were truly, truly random. We didn't pick them on our own, okay? So what we did in number 3 was technically called a judgment sample. And that is when we ourselves are just randomly picking the words, okay, that we feel or that we personally judge would accurately represent her entire song, okay? As opposed to number 4, we did something called a simple random sample, where we took the human element out of it, essentially. We let the calculator decide which 5 words we wanted to look at, okay? And that's going to be a better representation of the overall song because it's going to be truly random, okay? So knowing that, let's go down to question number 6 here. What do you think the true mean word length for Crazy in Love? I'm not sure. I mean, the averages that we got are probably somewhere around 3 and 4. So it's probably somewhere in between 3 and 4. So I would just say between 3 and 4 letters. Here, you don't have to put a specific answer. You don't know unless you actually find the average for all 297 words, which you are more than welcome to if you would like. I am not going to force you to do that, okay? Because if you look at question number 7, let's read this here. It is known that Beyonce wrote the lyrics for all of the Destiny's Child songs. Okay, awesome. Nice job, actually, by the way. The average word length for these songs is 3.64 letters. So that is for all of her songs in Destiny's Child. So for those of you who don't know who Beyonce is, which I'm going to need you to do a little research, you need to know who Beyonce is. She started out in a group called Destiny's Child. There were 3 of them in that group. And then after a while, the group disbanded, but yet she became famous on her own right by making her own music, which was awesome. You know, more power to you, Beyonce. And so whenever she wrote songs, after she left Destiny's Child, people were like, oh, maybe she wrote that. Maybe she's just taking credit for it. Well, so based on our samples, do you have good evidence that Beyonce did not write the lyrics for Crazy in Love? Explain. I'm going to say that we probably don't have enough evidence. This is not on your paper, but I can tell you that the true average word length for her song Crazy in Love is 3.53. Okay? 3.53 compared to 3.64. 3.64 is the word length we know she had when she wrote all of the Destiny's Child songs. 3.53 is the current average word length for Crazy in Love, the song that we think maybe she wrote, maybe she didn't wrote. I don't know about you guys, but to me, that seems pretty darn close, okay? So, do you have good evidence that Beyonce did not write the lyrics for Crazy in Love? I'm going to say no. The average word length of 3.53 is pretty close to the average word length of 3.64, which is a known average from the cluster of songs that she wrote before. So I would say that we do not have convincing evidence that she did not write Crazy in Love. So if we don't have the evidence to say that she did not, then we have the evidence to say that maybe she did. Well, I say we have the evidence to say she did. The only person that truly knows this is Beyonce herself, okay? But we don't have evidence to disprove it, so I guess we should say it's okay. I don't know. What do you guys think? Okay? So all of this, what's the point of all this stuff? Let's talk big ideas of what we did today. The main idea was to talk about the sampling methods and where what are we sampling? Okay, so what I want you to do is we have some notes up here that I'm going to fill in. Oh, the answers on the bottom are already there. You don't see them, don't look at them, okay? But let's just go through some big ideas, okay? So the population is the entire group of individuals we want information about. Today's population was all of the words in the lyrics to her song Crazy in Love, okay? From that population, we took a sample, which is a subset of individuals in the population from which we want to collect data. Okay, so our sample was 5 words. Okay, the first sample we did was called a judgment sample, where we judged for ourselves what we thought the 5 words would be. And yeah, hint, this is not a good idea. Okay, in general, it's not very accurate to do this. Okay, so in order to come up with something that's a little bit more accurate, we want to do, or actually, I'm sorry, let me pause. We want to do a simple random sample, but another alternative is called a convenient sample. Some people interchange the word judgment sample with convenient sample. Okay, it's sampling individuals who are easy to reach. So, for example, let's say I wanted to survey all the students at Central High School. Well, it's really convenient as a teacher that I have students walk in my room, first period, second period, third period, fourth period. It would be very convenient for me to just sample the kids that walk into my classroom. But would that be an accurate representation of the entire student population at Central High School? No. The students in my classes are AP Math students. AP Math students don't encompass the entire student body. They encompass quite a few, but not all of them. So it would be convenient for me because you guys are easy to reach because you're in my class, but it's not a good sample source, okay? It's not going to give me valid data. Another way to get data is something called a voluntary response, where people choose to be in a sample. A perfect example of this is, I know radio, people don't listen to the radio as much anymore. Everybody does Spotify or whatever, but a lot of times radio shows will do a call-in survey where they pose a question and people can call in to volunteer their answer. Well, that would be a voluntary response. The people that are calling in have chosen to be in this sample. And most of the time that's not very accurate because the people that are calling in are the people who care about the sample or care about the question at hand. So yeah, voluntary response, it works sometimes, but overall, not great. Okay. Oh, that's still, oh man, I'm trying to like hide things here and it's really not working. Bring, ha 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 ha. Now you see nothing. There we go. There. All right. Other things. So if we know that these samples are not great, then the one type of sample that we want to do is called a simple random sample. And we will abbreviate this all the time as SRS, simple random sample. Okay. A simple random sample is every individual is equally likely to be chosen to be a part of the sample, or every member of the population is equally likely to be chosen. So, for example, all of the words, we had 297 words. Every single one of them had an equal chance of being chosen for our sample of 5. Okay. The process for doing a simple random sample is that you need to always first label every member of the population when possible. I say when possible because sometimes your population is super, super huge. And so if that's the case, you hope that somebody already has a way to label them in advance. For example, like all of the students at Central High School, if we wanted to survey, or if we wanted to take a random sample of all the students at Central High School, I would probably take all of the student ID numbers that you guys have. And well, actually there's 2,600 students at Central. That wouldn't be too difficult for us to number all of you like from 1 to 2,600. Okay. So we will label you all from 1 to 2,600. And then from that 1 to 2,600, draw a random sample, however many we need. Okay. So that step 2 would be to randomly select using a proper randomization method. Remember, a proper method means that every person or every individual in the population has an equally likely chance of being chosen. Okay, so whenever you're doing this, you got to make sure that you are not using basically your own judgment in any way. You are labeling everybody. You are or like not everybody, but every subject or every individual. It depends on the survey or the sample of what you're trying to do. But everybody needs to have some unique label that you can easily identify and then pull from for your sample. I mean, if we wanted to, I could put all 2,600 names in a hat and then draw, 100 names out of the hat. That also works, okay? It's just not very, it's not very effective. Or not very, it's effective, but it's not very time friendly, okay? And then the last one is the selected individuals who will be polled or used for gathering data. So out of the people that you chose in step 2, then those are the people that get whatever survey or whatever sampling thing that we're working on, okay? So as we have always done in the past, I want you to try to check your understanding on your own, okay? I will post the answers to these on Canvas, all right? So the answers to these are already typed up and ready to go. So from here, I just need you to go to Canvas and check out the rest of the answers here. All right, so I hope that helps make sense with different methods of sampling. We're going to talk even more methods of sampling tomorrow, so stay tuned.